There hasn't been a stronger rivalry in the history of mankind than strength users versus dex users in Souls games. And if you don't believe us, you can easily fact-check this anywhere on the internet. Not even the Joker and the Batman come close in terms of rivalry to these two groups of pleasantly scented individuals. From countless memes to endless Reddit threads, gamers have been arguing either ironically or sincerely, cataloguing the users of the opposite stat as lesser humans. So today we ask ourselves, which of the two is actually the most optimal stat? And before you start moulding at the screen, yeah, I do believe that you can play however you want, and that's okay, so please don't fume on me. For those somehow unfamiliar, thank you so much for being here despite not being a Souls games regular. Strength and Dexterity are two of the main offensive stats you can level in pretty much every Souls game to date. The leveling of these stats can only be as productive as you make them out to be, since the stats don't necessarily have any drastic impacts on the gameplay by themselves, as you need to use the corresponding equipment to actually make them do something. You see, weapon damage can be amplified in two ways: by upgrading your weapon with upgrade materials, or by increasing the stats corresponding with your weapon scaling attributes. This may seem like a no-brainer, but it's something that not all gamers grasp on their first runs as something that the stats are merely for wielding weapons. And I don't blame them for thinking that, because if you try to wield a weapon without the required stats, this big sign pops up. So I can see some gamers being confused by it. Even then, some gamers simply don't know how to read and use the weapons anyway, without meeting the stats.
I did nothing wrong in that fight whatsoever.
But enough about illiterate gamers. Let's talk about strength first. Strength is commonly associated with just wielding big, girthy swords the size of a troll's seed dispenser that hit really hard but are slower than a Redditor on a foot race. While that's still pretty much true on a surface level in Elden Ring, there are more aspects to strength that make it, in our opinion, the most unique stat in the game. Ever noticed that sometimes when you don't meet the strength requirements for a weapon, two-handing it will have you magically meet the requirements? This is because when you two-hand anything, you get a 50% strength boost, meaning that if you have 20 strength and you two-hand a weapon, you will virtually have 30 strength points. So yes, just like you heard, the key is stroking it with both hands. The best thing about this special bonus is that it's not bound by the 99 points hard cap, meaning that if you have 99 strength, two-handing your weapon will still give you a 50% strength bonus for a total of 149 virtual strength. And you can easily test this yourself by trying it out with any weapon that has strength scaling, as your damage will still increase despite having already reached the strength hard cap. This bonus alone makes any two-handed weapon extremely useful, as damage output with it soars higher than your dreams of ever getting laid. And it only gets better when you use it with the two-handed sword talisman, so you don't necessarily need to use an oversized troll schlong as a weapon. Any two-handed stick will do the job just fine. But it's not all about grabbing throbbing cylinders with both hands, lil poggies. Although you could say it's related, because when talking about strength, things can get really hot.
Wow.
Strength will also increase the fire damage of weapons infused with the fire affinity, not to confuse with flame art, which is determined by your faith stat. Fire will give the weapon evenly split scaling between physical and fire damage, while flame art goes purely for fire. It is a nice alternative in the cases where fire is the best choice, which is mostly in PvE, as there are quite a big number of enemies who are very weak to fire damage. In PvP, fire infusions can work super well with Ashes of War, like Flaming Strike or Flame Spear, which give your weapon a fire self-buff for a short period of time, exponentially boosting the innate fire damage of your fire-infused weapon. It's very situational, of course, as depending on the build you're using, pure physical damage may be the right choice. Best example of this being the XQC Anchor build, since counter damage is only triggered by physical damage. There are also quite a few unique weapons that work predominantly with strength, such as the Death Knight Twin Axes, the Meteoric Ore Greatsword, or the Greatsword of Damnation. These weapons offer very interesting Ashes of War.
No, don't do it!
and will lash out the most damage when on strength builds, making strength not only good for dealing raw damage, but also to cover different situations with utility tools. The drawback would be that strength needs high endurance investment due to some of the best strength weapons being really fucking heavy, such as Guts Greatsword, and the fact that you need heavy armor to stack poise up and make those weapons work optimally. But I suppose that if you don't care about overleveling, then this is not really an issue for you now, is it? What may be an issue is purchasing Elden Ring, because just what the fuck are those prices, my dude? Anyway, I wouldn't worry much about that little burrito, because Instant Gaming has got your back. As a website with over 10 million satisfied customers, Instant Gaming spits on the overinflated prices assigned by the man and offers great leniency to those economically challenged poggies who really want their fourth anime armpits video game. You can rest easy knowing that all of the amazing discounts in games, game cards, and subscriptions you can shop for in Instant Gaming are safely backed up by great Trustpilot reviews, alongside night and day customer support. And of course, it doesn't matter if you built an altar for Gabe Newell or Bill Gates, nor what console has replaced your dad's photo in the family picture book. Instant Gaming will always have you covered.
But wait! There's more!
By clicking my custom link in the description or pinned comment and creating an Instant Gaming account, you will participate in a free giveaway where you'll be able to purchase anything of your liking. No purchases necessary. Just creating an account is enough. So what are you waiting for? Those morally questionable games won't add themselves to your Steam library. Huge thanks to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Now when it comes to the Dexterity stat, things are a tiny bit different. The two-handed bonus is non-existent on Dexterity, meaning that you either meet the requirements or you don't, bozo. Two-handing isn't gonna save you here. But of course, we wouldn't be making this video if Dexterity had no benefits whatsoever. What we believe is the biggest benefit is that Dexterity is directly tied to lightning damage. Out of the,
5 damage types?
Yeah, of course. Out of the 5 damage types in Elden Ring, Lightning is very special because it's the only damage type whose defenses are not tied to a stat. Strength increases physical defense, Vigor increases fire defense, Intelligence increases magic defense, and Arcane increases holy defense. But no stat can increase lightning defense naturally. Only armor can increase lightning defense, and even then, lightning-infused weapons will usually deal more damage than non-buffed keen weapons, which is the physical counterpart of Dexterity scaling infusions. Lightning damage will also be boosted when fighting in pools of water or rain, as lightning defenses go down when this happens, as opposed to fire defenses which will go up when wet. So we could say that Dexterity will have a very interesting innate advantage in PvP due to having a damage type that is hard to naturally mitigate. Dexterity is also very good for setups that do not revolve around two-handing shit, as weapons like Rakshasa's Great Katana or Guardian Sword Spear can be used in special setups and still deal gargantuan amounts of damage due to their incredibly high dexterity scalings, with Rakshasa's Great Katana being particularly useful with its one-handed hyper armor. You also have access to some very nice tools that are either not available or not so good on strength builds, such as the Claws of Night, the Falks, Sword of Night, or the backhand blades, those last ones being particularly painful on guard counter builds. Dexterity can also increase the speed of spellcasting, which is a nice interesting bonus, but this would just be a complementary use for a non-dexterity focused build. In conclusion, which stat is the better one? It's really hard to say, as none of the two have a super mega advantage over the other in general, but we could say that for PvE, strength is definitely better because of the fire effect on tons of enemies and how good stance breaking is. And for PvP, dexterity has a few advantages that strength does not have access to, such as lightning and varied setups and tools. They both sort of balance each other out. So in order to make everyone be at peace with each other, we can say that both stats are equally great. Wait, well, who is that?
The mystery thingy of our last video was the serpent flail. Congratulations to the little gigachads who answered correctly. Here's the new mystery thingy. You should fucking guess it. Now.